shooting at Tanglewood Middle School. It came from the school resource officer that works this school. He called for emergency assistance, so there was obviously a lot of activity here. We have a little more than 200 law enforcement officials that arrived on scene, as well as district officials. You see these buses lined up here, evacuating students and moving them to a different location, as well as the staff. The school has been cleared. We did confirm there was a shooting. The victim was transported to the hospital. I don't have any information to release about the victim, but it was a teenage student. We do have a shooter in custody who is another teenage student that was found off-site from the school. The shooting occurred. The student immediately left the school. We found out sometime later. Now we've secured the school again and evacuating students and staff, making sure their needs are taken care of. We have had it's been a very trying situation for sure. Our heart goes out to the family, all the families involved. We certainly ask that you pray for the family of the victim, for sure, as information develops about his status, but also the children at the school. It's a very traumatic time for them, so please keep them and their families in your thoughts and prayers. One thing I will highlight is you absolutely have the best law enforcement anybody could have. You have our county deputies, obviously, the city police department. Chief Thompson sent numerous officers over here. The state law enforcement division has officers over here. The ATF, FBI, DEA, school officers who work school security showed up over here. All those people converged on this scene to secure it very quickly. If y'all were here and able to kind of watch that take place. Dr. Worcester was out here immediately with his staff, assessing the situation, making provisions again to evacuate the school. This is a terrible, terrible situation. But the response from the men and women who serve this community is incredible, and my hat's off to them. They're the ones that put in the work. EMS, getting the victim out and rendering aid to him as we arrived, it's just incredible. And they have worked very hard, certainly, to provide a very safe school environment for these children. So my hat's off to them. It was very impressive for sure, but they are some very highly skilled individuals who work here. So before we take any questions, and keep in mind there's some things we're not going to be able to tell you. You know what they are probably, so if you want to ask that question, that's fine, but some we won't be able to answer. Dr. Worcester is here. Doc, do you want to make a statement, sir?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Sheriff. Very much to echo some of the things that Sheriff Lewis has shared with you. First, certainly our prayers for those affected by this tragedy, the victim, but all the students in that school, the families, anybody that was in some way impacted by this kind of traumatic event. I also want to echo what Sheriff Lewis said. We could not have had a better, a more rapid, a more professional, or a more in accordance with plan response by every agency and every entity that responded to this situation. Starting at the school level, the school responded quickly. They responded in accord with our emergency plans. The law enforcement response was, in essence, immediately, as Sheriff Lewis indicated, part of the SRO in the school, and supported by several hundred officers from a number of different agencies, as he indicated to you. This is as I think we would all look at this, it's a senseless tragedy, and unfortunately one that occurs all too often in today's society, where people perhaps resort to violence. And it has a lasting impact on all those that are in proximity to it. But again, we extend our appreciation to all of those that have worked so hard to ensure that our students were led to safety, that they were sheltered in place, that the building, grounds, the individuals were properly searched, screened before they were placed on buses. You see some of these buses lined up here. In accordance with our protocol, we will empty the entire building, faculty, staff, and students. They will be transported to one of our relocation sites that we have previously established in our emergency plan, in this case, Brookwood Church. So we would direct all parents to Brookwood Church. We have people already in place there to assist with the orderly and logged dismissal of those students to their parent or guardian. In fact, a message has already been sent to all of the parents in the school to give that information directly to them. Each of those parents should have received that at their emergency contact number at this point. Again, my appreciation to Sheriff Lewis and to all the individuals, both in the school district, and the various law enforcement and EMS agencies that responded to this situation.
And Sheriff and Superintendent, the fact that this happened in a middle school, these students were at school, the shooter was a student, the victim was a student, how does this highlight the severity of the situation? And I know, Superintendent, you said this happens far too often.
I don't think it's, at this point, something that any of us could comment on why we believed it took place. And I'm not sure, even after a full and thorough law enforcement investigation, anyone will really know what was going through the mind of that young person that took this rash act. So I don't know that there's anyone will ever know except that person, and they may not be able to articulate it for you.
How and when were parents first notified about this earlier? Some parents said they didn't get any kind of emergency alert.
Well, the first responsibility of the school and the district is to ensure that everyone within the walls of that school are safe, they're in shelter, and that we can proceed in accordance with our plan. As soon as we know that, we then immediately begin to communicate to parents what has happened and what the first step will be in that process. And that is going to take, even though the police response was almost immediate, that's going to take a while to discern enough information to properly inform people. Doesn't do any good to inform them if you don't have good information to give to them, even if the first information is minimal in nature.
There are a lot of buses here. Is this going to affect the pickup of other kids throughout the district?
It will.
How so?
Obviously, our first priority is we've put between 25 and 40 buses at this location because unlike a regular day, they're transporting every student in that school, not just the bus riders, and every faculty and staff member in that school. So it will delay buses throughout the district likely, and those schools that are affected have been notified.
What can you tell children and their
officer on
families?
scene? Can you respond at all to this?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll defer to Sheriff Lewis.
Yeah, I think I started my statement with the fact that that's exactly who called for emergency assistance. The deputy was there. I can't talk too much right now about kind of what led up to that, but he's the one that notified other officers via the radio, hey, I need emergency assistance. I've heard a gunshot. They locked down the school. Again, can't comment enough about the staff at Tanglewood Middle School. When they isolated those kids, everybody went to where they're supposed to be. We've conducted lockdown drills with the school district in the past several months, and people kind of call and question and complain why we do those things. Unfortunately, we had to use that, and the students and the staff, it worked seamlessly. When we arrived at the school, again, we didn't have to deal with kids running everywhere, and staff, everybody was where they were supposed to be. Our priority was obviously rendering aid to the victim and looking for the suspect that started right away.
Are there any metal detectors at that school? Any
No.
other security issues or devices that the school uses to utilize on a
There is some security features in place at the school, but not metal detectors, and we won't go too deep into what each school has.
Dr. Royster, is that going to...
What can you let children and their families know tonight so they can hopefully sleep peacefully and come into school tomorrow and be safe and learn?
Again, the suspect's in custody. We can't elaborate a whole lot on that, so there's not a danger to the community at all. Unfortunately, these are two young men that attended school here. We don't really know the specifics of why it occurred and why so many young people resort to violence, especially with firearms. Again, tragic situation, but certainly I would not hesitate if my child went to school here to send them to school here in the morning. Again, everybody was very well prepared at the school. The district's done a great job with that, and you would really have to see that how that worked out to really appreciate it. My hat's off again to the folks at Tanglewood. They did a great job protecting people's kids.
Can you tell us where it happened in the school?
It was in the front part of the school.
Was it in a classroom? Was it in a hallway cafeteria?
It was in the front part of the school.
What, will there be school tomorrow?
We haven't made any decision about school for Tanglewood tomorrow. We made that decision later this afternoon, and we'll announce it at the time we make it.
Are any of your security policies going to be in review? He asked about metal detectors. Is that something you would consider in the future?
Any time, not only when we have an incident in one of our schools, but when incidents occur throughout the country, we immediately, following the incident, when we have a point where we've got enough information to do so, we debrief on what procedures we have, were the procedures followed. In this case, it appears that cursory review, seeing how everything came together and as quickly as it came together, the situation that was in place when I got there, appears to me they followed every procedure we have in place. That doesn't mean we won't look at that, see if something could have been done better or if something needs to be changed. And again, we do that even when incidents occur in other places. And we do that as a group. So it would be school level personnel, district administration, district security personnel, law enforcement personnel. We're extremely fortunate in Greenville, have an excellent relationship with all of our law enforcement agencies, but especially the sheriff's office, where there is a unit of the sheriff's office assigned directly to the school district. They will all be involved in debriefing this incident to see what might we learn from it that could have caused us to increase or enhance our safety protocols.
Were these
You
students?
studied these in other places. What's unique about America that brings these a lot more common than other countries?
I don't know that anybody has the answer to how we've arrived at a point where all of us tend to say, the media, the people involved in it, I think people in law enforcement as well, that this is happening all too often. I don't think that any one person seems to hold the solution to that. I would imagine if they did, we'd be working on that solution. I think there are an awful lot of factors that may be at play here.
Sheriff, are you able to say, is there a relationship between the two students, friends, or were they just in the same school?
We don't know anything other than the fact they go to school together. We don't have any information that would lead us to believe otherwise.
Which grade, do you know?
I don't, no ma'am.
Are you able to say how close to the school the suspected shooter was found? Was it right outside or far?
He was in very close proximity to the school.
Can you say the condition at all of the victim? Any idea?
I don't know right now, to be honest. I'm sure we'll be releasing something shortly to all of you, but I know my phone's went off several times talking to y'all, but I haven't looked at it yet. So.
Did the suspect surrender?
No, deputies found him, located him. I mean, he certainly at that point gave himself up. He was hiding. Again, he's a young man. Probably didn't understand the consequences of what had just. I don't think he knew what to do, honestly, except leave the school, the area where it happened. So he was apprehended. We have not questioned him at all yet. He's a juvenile, so there's some protocol that has to be followed there. And again, like Dr. Royster said, there's a wide search going on inside the school to make sure there's no weapons there. There's still a crime scene there that has to be protected. So it's still a very active investigation. We just wanted to give y'all some information to give to the public.
Will you be talking to the parents of the shooter about possibly where he got the gun and how he got the gun into the school? I mean, is there possibilities that parents could face some charges as well?
It's certainly very early to say anything about that because we don't know, but that's certainly part of this investigation.
Sheriff, what kind of weapon or what kind of gun was it?
We won't comment on any of that at this time. One more question. Anybody? Thank you.
With the school, do y'all have like history statistics of like violence in the area with the school? Is that comparative to other schools around the area? Do y'all have that information?
We track incidents by school on a literally a daily basis. We compile a report annually of that, so we have all the information. Obviously, I don't have that with me today. But all those things, South Carolina, there is a reporting requirement for that, so that's reported by every school district to the State Department of Education on an annual basis. So that information is available publicly, literally for every school district in the state of South Carolina.
And with that information,
I couldn't speak to that without having the numbers in front of me.
Just to confirm, no one else was injured at all. There's no school resources, other students.
No.
Any other words for the students or parents that were very shaken up right now?
Well, you know, I think one of the most important things is make sure that they give the school the right contact information and very updated contact information. You see how quickly this happened. They're sending out messages to let parents know, and we have people pull up and say, hey, what's going on? I didn't know anything about it. Most of the time, that's your own fault. If my kids go to school and they're in the custody or care of somebody else, I'm going to make sure they got my contact information. So my suggestion is, as a parent or a grandparent or a custodian of a child that goes to school, call and make sure that school has the right information. That way there's no question. They sent out a message very quickly that gave very specific directions on where to go, when to be there, and what we were doing. I know this is a traumatic situation, but there's not a reason for a parent to come to this school because your child's not here. And we want you to go get your child. And they told them, identification, make sure we know, who you're coming to get. All those things are being worked out, obviously, at the other location. You got to have a plan, and if you don't give us the right information, don't give the district the right information, what can we do? All we can do is call the number we have or email the email address we have. And so many people change those things, that's probably going to be some of the issues people run into, and I'd be frustrated too, but it's my fault if I don't give that information up. So the district done a great job of getting the message out very early on. We were inside the school when that was occurring. When Dr. Vorster, we were standing there when that was, all playing out. So hats off to the principal and his staff. Again, our deputy, our SRO at the school, did a tremendous job. I'm telling you, a heroic job, as well as everybody who responded. We didn't know what we had, but they shut this place down very early and went to work, and I couldn't be more humbled, really, to work with such a great group of people in this community. Thank you.
To your question about the trauma, as a part of our response, our emergency response plan, we have an aftercare, what's called an aftercare team. Mental health specialists, school counselors, psychologists that are employed by the district, all that are trauma trained. That team would be the team that would respond, say at a school where sometimes we have a child killed in a car accident or something. They would respond to the school. In the case of an incident like this, they're part of the response to the reunification site. So when those students begin arriving there by bus at Brookwood, there will be psychologists, counselors, mental health specialists on site at Brookwood to help them, to be with them, to help them through this up until their parents come, and even after their parents arrive there if they need the services of that individual. And that's simply part of our emergency response plan.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, so you've seen the superintendent of Greenville County Schools and the sheriff speaking about this case. A couple of big